Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the PAUK Radio Network. I'm your host Paul Rook, and as always we are joined in the studio by the amazing Kerry Greenaway and the amazing Richard Clements. Hello guys.
Hello.
We've dropped a notch, Rich. What's going on?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We've gone from stupendous to amazing. Not sure I'm happy with that.
That's because you keep moaning every week. Emotion.
I did not moan. I state facts.
So, how have you both been this week?
Yeah, I've been all right. Just sort of doing a few things for the folks and stuff. Still just pottering around. That Christmas sort of time is somewhere in the past now, and it's all sort of back to normal. You see?
Yeah, and you're glad it's all over and done with now. You can
Yeah.
beat up and rest.
Yeah, that's right.
Rest.
Oh, except if you're in retail, apparently.
Exactly.
Go on, Kerry. What have you been up to?
Oh, working like a dog, everybody. Working like a dog. Yeah, no, normal stuff. Normal life, really. Good. It's all good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so, right. Kerry, you did the research for this one this week.
I did.
You did. So, what are we talking about?
Well, our lovely little IQ Elf, our lovely little Lucy Boo, has come up with a few show ideas that she thought would be good ideas, right?
Yeah, she has. Yeah, she's been working really hard on that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Even had to let her out of the cupboard for a little while.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
she had a little reprieve, everybody. Let her out the cupboard. And one of the ideas she came up with was ghosts of influential figures. So I thought, okay, well, we'll tackle that one. We'll have a look at that one. And this led me down a rabbit hole. I only started on one, and it led me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
right.
how deep does this rabbit hole go?
It kind of goes, yeah, it does. It goes around the houses and down the deep hole. It's quite
We've
interesting.
only got 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm aware. I've
Okay.
cut this down a lot.
Okay, cool.
I have actually cut this down a lot, believe it or not.
Okay, so which influential figure have you started the ball rolling on?
So I started with Orson Welles.
A good one.
Yeah.
Right? Quite a well-known character. I mean, his voice, amazing. His work, amazing. Very iconic. His producing and editing and cinematography
Yeah.
work. You know, he's got the stage presence, hasn't he? He's got that, I don't know, je ne sais quoi. A little bit of French for you.
Yeah.
He's
I
got,
mean, yeah, every time he appeared on stage, you know, it's like everyone knew he was there because his name was up on the lights out the front.
oh, God. Anyway, I thought we'd have a look at this.
Okay.
So that's where I started with Orson Welles. I thought it'd be easy.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it'll be a nice, easy one, right?
It's
Orson
good.
Welles.
And looking at your research, it does sort of get a pace and ends up somewhere where you think, what the hell?
Yeah, that's kind of where it went.
Yeah. Really good, though. Really good.
So we're going to follow this rabbit hole. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go down this as this is like how I research.
Okay, so at the moment we're standing
Brace
on the edge of the abyss.
We are standing on the edge of the abyss, basically.
Okay.
With Mr. Orson Welles, who was born on May the 6th in 1915 in Kenosha in Wisconsin.
I love how you start with the names that you can't.
I know, right? Straight in there with stuff I can't talk about. Now, his parents, Richard and Beatrice, incredibly bright people, really inventive people. They kind of like were outside the mold themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his dad was actually an inventor who invented the carbide lamp for bicycles.
Oh, right.
Yeah, random, right? Things you find out. But his mother was a concert pianist. Now, she was the one who taught him his musical skills.
Right.
And throughout this life that he led in his early years, basically, he met a lot of actors and sportsmen and, you know, like fame and fortune kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should imagine, especially on his stage work.
Yeah.
He would have got to meet thousands of people.
So this is his like grounding. This is where he sort of like his baseline life begins. However, unfortunately, they separated when he was 4 years old, and his mother died when he was 9.
Right.
Okay. Then when his father's business didn't go too well, he turned to the bottle, so he started drinking.
Right.
And then by the time Orson Welles was 13, his father died.
Right.
All right. So although a loving relationship to start with in his baby years, as he was going through quite informative years, it becomes more and more unstable to the point where he hasn't got parents anymore. So he ended up going into the care of Maurice Bernstein, and that's who became his official guardian. And that was when he was around 15. Now, he saw the creativity within Orson Welles and enrolled him into the Todd School in Woodstock, Illinois, where Orson Welles discovered the theatre. Theatre, darling.
Oh, dear.
I bet he was a right dandy.
I can imagine him embracing it in full feckle.
Yeah.
Enjoying the dress up.
I bet he was one of these actors that had to stand with their legs apart and chest out and whoa and all that.
Well, he was quite young, so quite possibly.
Yeah.
Now, from the Todd School, he then left and went to Dublin in Ireland, basically due to a small inheritance he'd received. And there, he basically started captivating his audiences with various productions. Juice is one of them.
What was one of them?
Juice.
Okay.
Juice, yes.
Juice. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
I mean,
I think we've milked that one.
Well, he'd actually arrived in Dublin saying himself, this is what he said of himself, that he was a Broadway star.
Oh, right. So he sort of embellished a bit, did he, on his background?
He did a little. But having said that, by the age of 19, he did actually make his Broadway debut in his role of Tybalt in the Romeo and Juliet.
Oh,
so we're talking Shakespeare.
Yeah, so he trained in the classics then.
Very much so. Now, his performance actually caught the attention of director John Houseman, who cast Welles in his Federal Theatre project.
Right.
Now, I could have gone a lot deeper down his life in the theatre because he did a lot. Macbeth being one of them, all those sort of things. His Macbeth was absolutely phenomenal, received phenomenally, quite frankly. But it's the Houseman-Welles partnership that actually proves to be the important one, right? Because in 1937, this is 21-year-old Welles had just come off the back of Macbeth, right?
Yeah.
And they formed the Mercury Theater.
Yeah.
Right now
that's what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard of the Mercury Theater.
Okay. Right, great. Huge success. Lots of other productions followed, but Mercury then moved into radio. And this is where it becomes interesting to us.
Yeah.
Because one of the productions they did on this weekly program, right, which was actually called the Mercury Theater on Air. It ran on CBS from 1938 to 1940, right? But the one we're interested in, okay, is something that aired on October the 30th in 1938.
Ooh, I know what that is.
I think most people may have an inkling of what that is. Nothing to do with Martians from another planet, is it?
Oh, yeah, it might quite possibly be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got another Wells that enters the room. Mr. H.G. Wells' novel, The War of the Worlds, was basically adapted for this radio theatre. And they did it like it was live broadcasting. Like, oh, my God, I'm stood here in front of this building and I've just seen an alien and oh, my God, kind of scenario. It wasn't actually like that, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually watched War of the Worlds the other night with old Tom Cruise running about here, there, and everywhere.
I've seen the first, but not. He did a follow-up, didn't he?
No.
Well, he done War of the Worlds. I mean, a few people have done a production of it.
Yeah, not a follow-up though. It was actually War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought he did War of the Worlds 2 or something.
No. No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive.
Oh, okay. Anyway, now, this War of the Worlds broadcast, now it is regularly put out there, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, that it upset a few people. A lot of people, it was like, oh, so many people panicked and like took to the roads and were leaving the city because they thought that real life Martians had landed and were, you know, taking over the planet, blah, blah, blah. So I thought we'd have a little look at this one because it's a misnomer, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because it didn't really happen that way. It's marketed that that's what happened.
Yeah.
But the facts don't back that up.
So what really happened then?
Okay. The night the program aired, the Hooper rating service was like a survey service. So they'd phone up like a certain amount of households to find out what they were listening to find out what channels they were listening to, and basically to get an idea. This is the early form of working out algorithms to see how much you can charge for advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, so who are you listening to? And more channels that get more people listening to obviously can, you know, get higher ratings for their advertising slots and stuff like that. So that's what that CE Hooper ratings service kind of gauges.
Mm-hmm.
And also they get a feel of what people want.
Mm-hmm.
Right, now
To be fair, they probably want left alone so they can listen to their broadcast in peace.
Only 2% of the 5,000 households they phoned answered with the radio play or the Orson Welles program or something to indicate the CBS channel.
Yeah.
Right, so that straight away takes us down quite a dramatic amount of listening figures, right?
Does, yeah.
Now, also published in Broadcasting, which is like a magazine type thing, right? 98% of those surveyed were listening to something else or nothing at all. So what happened on October the 30th, 1938, for that particular program, you're talking very small listening figures, not the whole city is in panic kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing you have to consider is not just how many people listened to it, but who was it up against? Was there a bigger program that it was up against? Well, it was, because ventriloquist Edgar Bergen had a variety show, and it was called Chase and Sanborn Hour, and that was on exactly the same time as the play.
Okay.
Now that had huge listening figures, very popular. It sounds awful. Sorry, everybody, it sounds awful, but it actually had a lot bigger listening figures than a theatrical play, right?
Yeah.
It always makes me laugh when you hear of the ventriloquist on the radio. I bet you don't see his lips move.
Now, there is also like, how did they hear about it? Not many people had even heard about it, that this play was on. So, you know, there was lots of other factors in this.
Yeah.
So what they decided to do, the old CBS affiliates, yeah. Now, what they did was kind of feed a story.
Yeah. It's very clever.
Yeah, that this is what this had caused. So when they replayed it, it had a bigger listening base. There is no actual evidence to suggest it caused the widespread panic that the media have reported. Now, we reckon a lot of this is to do with the newspapers. We think it's been fed by CBS affiliates to the newspapers, basically there was also this thing about radio and TV and all that sort of thing going on around the same time. So they wanted to discredit radio as a source of news. So they basically used this argument of, well, don't listen to the radio because they put out fake news like Martians invading. Do you know what I mean? Look at the problem that caused, widespread panic, everybody. Whereas if you come to my newspaper, we will only tell you the truth. God damn it. Do you know what I mean? Kind of scenario. So that you've got all these other factors. Now, how many times have we talked about you have to look at the whole spectrum, not just the one facet?
Oh, I think we covered it about once or twice.
And this is another example of that. So you have to look at marketing ploys that were going on. You have to look at statistics. You have to look at what else was being broadcasted at the same time.
Well,
you have to look at, there's lots of other things that you have to look at. So basically, the newspaper industry is sensationalizing this. CBS is thinking, great, more listing figures, but the newspapers are thinking, great, we could discredit the radio as a news source. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that radio basically is irresponsible and that you can't trust it. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's such a shocker, I think.
What?
We all
we all
know. Yeah, so we all know that the media tell the truth all the time.
Well, this is true, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to jump quite a bit around in Orson Welles' life because it got a bit boring. He did this play, he did that play, he then did this film, he then did that film, he married this person, he divorced that person. You know what I mean? It kind of went on a bit like that. I was like, not fast. So I thought, let's focus on the bits that were of interest. So obviously War of the Worlds was one.
Yeah.
Right? So I wanted to talk about the Orson Welles ghost story. Now, this is also called Return to Glenaskall.
Yeah, that is more or less right there. Glenaskall, that's how I pronounce it.
Beautiful. Got it right,
Well done.
everybody. I tapped myself on the back.
Gold star for you.
Now, Wells was actually taking a break from the filming of Othello at the time. Driving around in the Irish countryside one night, he offers a ride to a man with car trouble.
Oh, no, that's scary stuff.
Back in the day, you wouldn't have worried so much. Nowadays, not a goddamn chance would you do that.
No.
Right? Now, the man actually relates a strange tale that happened to him at the same location. Right, two women flagged down his car one evening, asked for a ride back to their manor, invited him in for a drink. Their daughter, Lucy Campbell, was apparently the long-lost love of the man's uncle. By the inscription read in the cigarette case she admired. Her name, Lucy, was not revealed until the end of the story, by the way. After leaving, he went back for his cigarette case, and then he found the manor deserted and decayed, right?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
In Dublin, a real estate broker had actually told him the mother and daughter had died years ago.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love it. Now, Wells, obviously sufficiently spooked, dropped the man off at his home, leaves in a hurry. And when the man asked him for a cup of tea or something stronger,
He needed it.
he thought, no, thanks, I'm going to carry on driving. And as he goes back the way he sort of like came, he actually passes two stranded women who wave him for a ride.
Typical, isn't it?
Okay. I just have visions of Orson Welles driving around Dublin, like, the area of Dublin, right, picking up bloody hitchhikers here, there, and everywhere. Right. So he's taking this man, have a cup of tea. I've just told you a really scary story. Like, I'm not like Orson Welles. I'm not completely freaked out by that. So, yes, of course, I'm going to take you up on that. Not. You know what I mean? And then I'm driving along and I see two women. Hang on, I've got two women. These are actually real women, by the way. I will say that. These weren't ghostly spectres. These were real women and fans of his. They recognised him. So, of course, they were waving at him.
Right.
Oh, it's Orson Welles. Oh, my God, look, it's Orson Welles. Right, but he's freaked out by that. But it gave him an idea.
More ghost stories.
The ghost story of Orson Welles.
Yay.
Yay! Whoop, whoop. Right, so I thought we'd look into the urban legend of the hitchhiker because obviously that's a famous story. Whether or not that's a true story for him or not, I doubt. I think that's probably just, I don't know, what's the word? Plotline?
Yeah.
Yeah, we go with that.
So, his story, you sort of, it does sound like an urban
legend.
Classic urban legend hitchhiker story, doesn't it? I mean, because we've all heard it.
Oh God, yeah.
Or different versions of it.
That's right. Now, there has actually been a proper study of the urban legend of the hitchhiker. It was taken between 1942 and 1943 by American folklorist Richard Beardsley and Rosalie Hankey. Sorry, they got 7. I'm stuck on hanky. I'm stuck on a hanky now. Hanky panky. I bet she had some right ribbing when she was in
school. Poor woman. Leave her alone.
Sorry, I do apologise. There were 79 written accounts of encounters with vanishing hitchhikers. This is from the United States only.
Right.
Okay. They found 4 distinctly different versions. Right. So version A is the story where the hitchhiker gives an address through which the motorist learns he has just given a lift to a ghost. Right?
Right.
Story B, where the hitchhiker is an old woman who prophesies disaster or the end of World War II. Bearing in mind, this is when they did this study was 1942 to 1943. Yeah. And basically, subsequent inquiries reveal her to be deceased. Right? So she's not a real person. Story C is where a girl is met at some place of entertainment, like dance hall, cinema, blah, blah. She leaves some token, often the overcoat she borrowed from the motorist, on her grave by way of corroborating the evidence and her experience and her identity.
Yeah, that's the one I'm more familiar with.
Yeah, so you meet her at the dance hall, you take her home in the car, she leaves something in the car, she takes something of yours from the car, and then when you go back to get it, you find it draped across a grave.
Yeah.
Yep. And basically, the hitchhiker is later identified as a local divinity.
Okay.
Right. So those 4 stories, those sort of 4 themes of this urban legend that come forward. Now, what was particularly interesting to note was in one location, which was actually in Kingston, New York, a vanishing hitchhiker was subsequently identified as the late Mother Cabrini, who was the founder of the local Sacred Heart Orphanage. And she was beautified for her work.
Cool.
Now, didn't we talk about beautification at some point? Wasn't that the step before sainthood?
I think you mean beatified, don't you?
No, okay, we'll go with that. I'd rather say beautified.
No, it's beatified, yeah. I wondered, what, beautified? I've never heard it. No, and it's beatified. which is the process you have to go through to become a saint in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so she was on that road to sainthood.
Oh, and she never made it.
Beautified.
Yeah, we'll go with that, Kerry.
Yeah, that's prettier.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Their conclusions basically reflected the continuation of vanishing hitchhiker stories. I mean, there tends to be a theme. The majority of cases, it's a female who's the spectral entity that needs a lift, and the driver tends to be the male.
Yeah.
Right, that tends to be. Their samples contained 47 young female apparitions, 14 old lady apparitions, and 14 more of an indeterminate sort.
Right, I'm saying.
Not many then.
I know. So, we have got this urban legend that we all know and love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many ghosts got into the car and then just sat down, and then they drove off, just stayed sitting in the one spot. Because if they can go through walls, then the car's going to be no problem, is it?
Maybe then it's intent of the ghost.
Possibly.
So if you intend to be in the car, you stay in the car. Whereas if you then intend to not be in the car, that's when you sort of like fall out the bottom.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Took my mind off the game there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was supposed to be in the car, not out the car, but I got like a bit confused. That's why my bum was dragging on the floor for a bit there. I don't know. Maybe it's intent of the ghost.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know.
Good point.
Right, so Ernest W. Borman's basically the folk tales of England and North America basically looks at the vanishing hitchhiker urban legend as follows. Basically, ghost of a young woman asks for a ride in an automobile, disappears from closed car without the driver's knowledge. after giving him an address to which she wishes to be taken. Right, standard. The driver asks person the address about the rider, finds she's been dead for some time, and usually the driver finds that the ghost has made similar attempts to return, usually on the anniversary of death in an automobile accident. Okay. Now, again, we talk about common themes. The Americans basically got it down to basically female hitchhiker, male driver. He goes a little bit further. He says common themes are that vanishing hitchhikers reappear on anniversaries.
Yeah.
That they leave items in the vehicle unless the item is in a pool of water.
Right.
Accounts of sinister old ladies who prophesize disasters. I've yet to meet an old lady that prophesies disaster. Well, in fact,
an old crone.
Yes, I see them every day in my shop. Oh, the world's going to come to an end. Kind of people. Contains accounts of phantoms who are apparently sufficiently solid to engage in activities such as eating and drinking during their journey. So that these aren't ghostly figures, that you would imagine. These are like, you're sitting there talking to like a real person. They're that solid an apparition. Okay. Phantom parents who want to be taken to the sickbed of their dying son. That's common theme as well.
Yeah.
Hitchhikers requesting a lift home.
I haven't heard that one. Yeah.
No.
I'd say isn't there one of those at Bluebell Hill in Kent in the UK?
What, that just wants to lift home?
Yeah, like a hitchhiker and then she disappears or something.
Yeah, they're quite common.
Yeah.
This urban legend. And a category reserved exclusively for vanishing nuns.
All right. Hitchhiking nuns now. That's a new one on me.
Yeah. Now, apparently that's quite a common variant.
Right.
Right?
I'm sure the Warrens investigated loads of them.
This is like a cross between the woman who wants a lift and the old crone who prophesies disaster, the nun, because she wants a lift and she prophesies like the future.
So you get two for the price of one.
Two for the price of one, right?
Oh, let's go for that one.
But the nun category, but again, similar to the ones in America, local divinity. You know what I mean? We do have that religious encounter. Apparently, St. Christopher is considered one of these.
Oh, right. Patron saint of travellers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, isn't he supposed to be lucky, though?
Yeah. Well, that's why he's like a patron saint, because he's a nice bloke. Helps you on your way and all that.
Only comes out once a year on his spare job. He's got a second job, hasn't he? Father Christmas. He puts on the weight.
What, St. Christopher?
Yeah.
No.
You've heard of St. Nick, haven't you? I've
heard of St. Nicholas, but not St. Christopher being him.
Yeah, he looks the same. He just puts a bit of weight on for Christmas. Like we all do.
What, and changes his name?
Yeah, it's just for a laugh, isn't it?
And his nationality?
Yeah.
And his location?
Well, you don't particularly know that his nationality, do you, really?
I thought St. Nicholas was in Norway or Sweden or something.
Yeah, Germanic, isn't it?
Oh, he flies all over the world, doesn't he? Giving out the presents to the kids. He could take his pick of what nationality he wanted to be.
Oh, I think he's entered the realm of weirdom again, Richard.
Right, come on. You carry on, dear.
Okay, yeah. However, Michael Goss, in his book The Evidence for Phantom Hitchhikers, discovered that many reports of vanishing hitchhikers were based heavily on folklore and hearsay.
Yeah.
He examined some cases and basically attributed them to hallucination. Right? And said, like, if it hadn't happened directly to the person who told the story, then you can't count it. So if it hadn't happened to you directly,
it's pointless recounting the story. Yeah,
exactly, because you could, unfortunately, as we know, it's like something happens to, say for example, something happens to Paul, I then tell that to my partner. The version I tell is going to be vastly different from the way Paul told me the story. And I'm going to put my slant on it as well.
Yeah.
And it's like Chinese whispers, isn't it?
Exactly. And then say my partner then goes and tells his Miss Mate the story, whatever it be. Do you know what I mean? By the time it gets to like 4 or 5 people down the line, it's totally unrecognisable from what really happened.
Yeah.
So I don't discount this. I think Michael Goss might actually have a point on that one.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. See, modern cases, when he looked into those, there was a lot of conflicting accounts. So you're looking at exaggeration, illusion, or hoaxing.
Okay.
And it is one of those good old ghost stories that you tell in early adulthood, should I say, where you're driving around, young driver, not long past his test, all his mates in the car, going to scary locations just for the thrill factor of it. You know, squatting a plot somewhere, listening to the radio or whatever, and telling ghost stories.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of stories, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't discount good old Michael Goss. And now, unfortunately, anybody that does have a vanishing hitchhiker encounter, it's not ever going to be believed. It's going to be taken just as an urban legend, and that be that. And no one knows where the roots of urban legends tend to come from, really. They're hard to pin down the origin.
Yeah. They are notoriously difficult, yeah.
But I did find a modern one.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay, go for it.
Right, this is the Belch Tunnel in Switzerland. It's actually part of the A2 motorway from Basel to Chiasso.
Yeah.
Or Chiasso.
I've probably been in that.
Too.
I've probably been in that tunnel on the way to Italy because you go through Switzerland on the coach.
Yeah, you may well have done then.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the most top haunted roads in the world.
I could believe that, actually. Yeah, it did look a bit weird.
Right, the tunnel was actually opened in 1996. It's actually 10,430 foot long.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's asphalted, the surface. Why that's relevant, I don't know, but it's in the report. Basically, one report said 2 women picked up a lady and she warned them something dreadful was going to happen. Then she disappeared.
Dun, dun, dun.
Pure vanishing hitchhiker.
Yeah, that's
right?
That's one ticked off the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But that's in 1996. So this is relatively recent.
Yeah.
Although I feel like 1996 was yesterday, everybody. I know that's quite a long time ago now, but it feels like yesterday.
Yeah, maybe she trained at Hogwarts and's got one of the Deathly Hallows.
Maybe.
To disappear. Yeah.
Maybe she has. Now, the tunnel is well known because a ghost known as the White Lady is like haunts it, basically. She's described as being an old woman dressed all in white.
Mm-hmm.
And she is like a hitchhiking old white clothed lady, basically. Now, she appears out of nowhere in front of drivers, apparently. She sometimes even speaks to them. I wonder how many people have had to do an emergency stop.
I was just thinking that, actually, yeah.
She just appears out of nowhere right in front of them. Emergency stop. Oh, my God. She tries to speak to them. Could you imagine? You'd be freaked out your head, wouldn't you?
You would, wouldn't you?
You would be.
Especially if it's here.
Yeah.
Or she's hitchhiking. She gets picked up on the hard shoulder of the motorway and then actually vanishes from the vehicle in question whilst inside the tunnel. How many accidents have happened because of this white lady apparition?
Probably quite a few.
And maybe now it's one of those. I had an accident in the tunnel. What caused it? Not any other reason. This old lady that I picked up, the white lady disappeared. Well, yeah, I wonder how many reports. I couldn't find any kind of like insurance claim kind of things on these, but it's in Sweden, so it's not like, you know.
Yeah.
Switzerland even, not Sweden.
That would be interesting though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Would be funny. Not funny. Ha ha. You understand?
Yeah, weird, funny.
weird funny. So I couldn't find much more information other than the basics of it. But it would be interesting to look into a little bit deeper given the opportunity. So anyway, I digressed a little, as you can see, away from old Orson Welles, but that led me down the urban legend route. So I then came back to Orson Welles. I was like, right, okay then. So obviously he died. He's dead.
Yeah.
So does he report anywhere? Does he report anywhere? He doesn't. Does he haunt anywhere? That's where I was going with that. I haven't even been drinking. Sounds like I've been drinking.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I haven't, everybody. It's just my brain is a little bit blah tonight. So he is allegedly reported to still sit at his favourite table in his favourite Los Angeles restaurant.
Oh,
that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, plenty of food around. Yeah, that's the place I'd like to haunt, a restaurant.
Fine food, brandy, cigars, the lot, right?
Yeah, I wonder how much his bill is so far.
Well, his favourite restaurant was Ma Maison.
Okay.
But that shut down in 1985.
Right.
Okay. Now, I did actually have a look into Ma Maison. Just out of curiosity. Well, I wanted to know because in the first report I read, it said, it's now a completely different restaurant. So I thought, right, okay. Well, surely he would still haunt the new restaurant?
Yeah.
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Would he be able to discern the difference?
Well, assuming ghosts actually exist.
Old argument.
We have no definitive proof that they exist.
No, we don't. But if he was haunting Ma Maison, then surely he would be haunting the restaurant that's opened up where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah? If. Right. Well, this led me down a whole different pathway.
Yep. Another chasm
to end down into. Now, Ma Maison was one of the most glamorous restaurants in its day. Okay? It was like pure fine dining experience. Basically, it was the place to be back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in 1975.
Yeah.
Wolfgang Puck.
He was an Austrian chef.
He was an Austrian chef. Now, he basically bought everything up. Californians' finest is what they sort of like did it.
Okay.
Right? I don't think that date's right. That's why I hesitated. That doesn't sound right. Anyway, Jack Nicholson, Burt Reynolds, Fred Astaire, Elton John, Rod Stewart, Ringo Starr, Stevie Wonder, Marlon Brando, you name them, they would frequent this beautiful restaurant.
Okay, so it's quite a popular place to go then.
Expensive, popular.
Yeah.
You're talking about the highest businessmen, lawyers. You're talking about all the creme de la creme of Hollywood goes to this restaurant. It became well known for its drunk lunches. Sounds like a place I'd want to go to be about. And yeah, a little bit of debauchery went on there too.
Yeah, debauchery, drunken debauchery.
Sounds like the place to be.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know what you mean.
Now, it makes you wonder, this fantastically popular restaurant, what happened to it? Why all of a sudden did it come crashing down? Now, this happened when the sous chef, John Sweeney, right, strangled his actress girlfriend to death.
Oh, that'll explain it.
Right, so you can imagine the glamorous people of the day don't want to be associated with anything like that. So they don't go to the place that kind of made that happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to go somewhere like that, basically. It's not good form.
No, but there is a market for that sort of place as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Where murder's taken place. And
now there is for amongst the common people. But you don't want anything to sully your reputation, and you go back to that period of time. Yeah, you're 75.
Yeah.
then that's what you've got to look at. So I looked into this one a little bit more.
Okay.
This is where it gets a bit weird. Right. Now, the girlfriend, her name was Dominique Dune. Now, she'd not had many boyfriends before. She fell in love with John Thomas Sweeney, who was the kitchen helper who worked at Mar Maison. Right. Now, Dominic introduced him to her parents. They lived in New York, but he had a very jealous and possessive nature and basically tried to isolate Dominique away from her friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Dominique's career had only just been launched, and she'd been offered to work on a television program with Tom Selleck. Now, Tom Selleck back in the day, wow. Well, not even back in the day, even now, you think of Friends. Oh,
Magnum PI. wasn't he?
Magnum
he was
PI.
a man, wasn't he? He's a man and a half, is old Tom Selleck. He's definitely a raw.
Nah.
Yeah, he's a raw.
Can't see it personally.
I can see the attraction there. So I could he was a bit jealous about that. He was like, no, you ain't working with Tom Selleck. Right? On the 26th of August in 1982, they had a fight. The actress hit her head against the floor and then ran to her mother's house.
I bet she walked into a wall.
A month later, on September the 26th, John attacked her again. This was the second attack. She realised that her boyfriend was basically a little bit bonkers.
He got crazy.
And began to hide. But he got in contact by phone. Then she told him that she definitely didn't want to be with him, it's over. Mm-hmm. John did not accept that. He broke into the house and strangled her. He actually left her in a coma before she then passed.
Okay, so it was definitely over by then.
Unfortunately, he finished it.
Yeah. Never really get that.
A year after that particular crime, John received a conviction for homicide and 6.5 years. Now, Sweeney's lawyers argued that the attack on Dominique was actually due to a fit of passion, and that's why he only got 6 years in prison.
Right.
Okay. He only actually served half his sentence. He was released, and once he got out of jail, he changed his name and became John Mora. Okay. But Dominique Dune is interesting in her own right.
Yeah.
Why is she interesting in her own right? Any takers?
You going to tell us?
I am. Dominique Dune was in the film Poltergeist.
Ooh, okay.
She played a little girl?
No, that was Heather O'Rourke. She played the older sister.
Oh, right. I see.
In the original.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Now, we all know what we think about Poltergeist.
Well, it was
it was a good film.
All the stories surrounding that, and plus it was a good film for its time.
Yeah.
For its time. Oh, it's still a cult classic now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Poltergeist, to be fair. Still sends shivers up your spine when you watch it, even though it's a lot of goop thrown around.
I say, I mean, there are a lot better films out there now, but for its time, that was a really good movie.
But Poltergeist has always had that sort of like name tag of being a cursed film.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I was quite surprised, actually, that this rabbit hole of Orson Welles has taken me down the path it's taken me. I'm now looking at a link to Orson Welles from The Restaurant to a supposed cursed film.
Yeah, there's lots of cursed movies out there.
Well, there is, but this is sort of like the rabbit hole. This is where it took me. So then I thought, right, okay, well, I can't go much further without looking into the Poltergeist, right?
No, that's right, absolutely.
We've got to look at that.
So let's jump both feet into the world of Poltergeist.
Let's do that. Released in 1982, the original Poltergeist was directed by Tobe Hooper and produced by Spielberg. Interestingly enough, Tobe Hooper, the director of the movie, when I looked into him, he was classified as the newest and latest Orson Welles.
Oh, right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
see that.
can probably see that, yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there's an Orson Welles link there. Beyond the fact that the girl from, the rabbit hole I'd gone down. I thought, oh, interesting. Basically, it is now the masterpiece of American horror cinema, and it focuses on the Freelings, right? As a middle-class family whose life is upturned when a number of paranormal and vicious events occur in their Californian home, and their daughter Caroline is abducted through her bedroom closet by a group of ghosts who are under the control of a monster demon called the Beast.
The Beast. Dun,
Uh-huh.
dun, dun. He's now on the Chaser in the UK, isn't
he? After learning that their house sits atop a Native American burial ground, the Freelings spend their time attempting to retrieve Caroline, all the while stay sane as they get smacked around, terrorized, and ultimately goobered on in the bathtub. Brilliant.
Yeah, don't they have like a fight with like tree monsters or something in the swimming pool that's been dug out in the back?
Skeletons.
Is it skeletons? I can't remember. It's something. I know it was like they had a pool. They were building a swimming pool.
They were building a swimming pool, but we're
and
going
they
to come
dug
to
it
that.
out. Okay.
Yeah, we are going to come to that because there were skeletons in that pool, but we'll come to that bit in a minute. Right, but the little girl, Caroline, was played by a little girl called Heather O'Rourke. Now, you can't deny that she was an absolutely beautiful child.
Mm-hmm.
Good little actress.
Long blonde hair, big eyes, just really pretty girl.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, she was misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease in 1987.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The following year, she fell ill again, and her symptoms were basically said, "Oh, it's the flu."
Right. Okay.
Okay. She collapsed, suffered a cardiac arrest, and then, after being airlifted to the Children's Hospital in San Diego, she actually died during an operation to correct a bowel obstruction.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they now think, or what they now know, should I say, is that she was suffering actually from a congenital intestinal abnormality.
Oh, right.
Awful.
And they did her in.
Yeah. She was only 6 years old when she starred in the first film.
Was she?
Yeah, she was only 6.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was good for 6 years old.
So that was death number 1.
You mean there's more?
There is.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
Ooh.
So, we've got 2 already. Dominic June.
Yeah, his connection with the film. Yeah.
Yeah, Heather O'Rourke.
Yeah.
Well, how about Julian, Beck and Will Samson? Now, these are unfortunate. I don't think that these are particularly unexpected. I don't know. I just think that you can only attribute so much to it.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah,
but this is
do think
the curse
some of them...
of Poltergeist. So when you start looking at it, you think, well, reach,
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a coincidence.
I'm not one for cursed movies, believing in them. I mean, you can put anything down as cursed, anything unfortunate that happens,
No, I don't disagree with you. I mean, we've talked about cursed movies before, but like Superman, The Omen. I mean, there's a whole litany of them, to be fair. But the reason we're talking about this Poltergeist one is because of Dominic June, who is linked to Ma Maison, who is linked to Orson Welles. So you can see where I've gone down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, definitely.
So I thought it was worth talking about. And then it brought a little topic of Paul's little favourite onto the table, really. Now, let's have a look at Julian Beck and Will Samson. Now, Julian Beck was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Now, that actually ended his life shortly after the second film, Poltergeist film.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And Will Samson, who played the Native American shaman, died after undergoing a heart-lung transplant, which, to be fair, that operation is not very good
Yeah, survival
rates.
rate. I mean,
Anyway,
that's still hit or miss now. I
well,
think.
back in the day, even
It
less
would have
so.
been even worse, yeah.
hmm Now, those two, I think you can just say that's normal life, unfortunately.
Mm.
Dominic June, bad luck, bad choice of boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, even Heather O'Rourke, really, really awful circumstance. But these things happen. But it does seem strange that 4 characters all die of quite major health things.
Yeah, and they were all working on the same
movie in roles that are quite there as well. They're in your face there, you know.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about the swimming pool scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Now, apparently, they are real.
I was going to say, you're going to tell me that there weren't any people in there really, and it was all ghosts.
No, I'm going to tell you that they were in there. They were real skeletons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is the story that has circulated. I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, apparently they needed a load of skeletons quick or something, and yeah, I don't know quite how they tied the real skeletons into it.
What do you mean, how they tied it in?
I can't remember from the article I wrote quite how the film production company came to having real skeletons.
To be fair, though, that seems more logical to me because it's the sort of thing you'd find in doctor surgeries and stuff like that. Don't often find fake skeletons out of rubber and stuff like that.
Oh no, you do now. You only get plastic ones. You're not allowed the real ones anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not allowed them. But I think, you know, looking at some of your research as well, it did say that the props said that it was too expensive to make fake skeletons out of rubber, so they decided on real ones.
Mm.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's one of those, right? In my head, I've got a swimming pool full to the brim of skeletons. Whereas in reality, if I rewatch it, it might only be 2 or 3 that she's kind of like fighting with. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
The cinematography of that could have been misleading to what our brains are telling us. I can't remember. I know the scene, but I couldn't tell you how many skeletons were in the pool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my head, there's hundreds, but I kind of don't think
it's
one of them, isn't it? I might have to rewatch that movie just for that scene, just to see how many skeletons
just
were in the
have a
pool of
count.
Poltergeist. Yeah, it might only be 1 or 2, and she's fighting with them. Who knows, right? But back in the day, it probably was the sort of thing prop people would pick up. They pick up all sorts of weird and wonderful things on their travels, don't they? For films. So, all right, you might not be able to go and buy a real skeleton set now, but back in the day, you might have been able to pick them up.
I should imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah, and now obviously times have moved on a lot in film world and prop production.
Yeah.
None of that's verified, right? I will say that. Can't verify that one way or the other. The woman who played the character thinks they were real. She said, in my innocence and naivety, I assumed that these were not real skeletons, but the prop skeletons are made out of rubber. She found out that they were using real skeletons because it's far too expensive to make fake skeletons out of rubber. That's what she said in an interview, right? But how true that is. And apparently Native American actor Will Samson actually performed an exorcism on the set of the second film in 1984 because they were using real skeletons.
Right.
Right? But apparently he did this late at night all by himself. Right?
Oh.
What a hero.
Yeah, didn't anyone want to play with him?
And just said about it the next day. But again, you know, if everyone's going, oh God, they're using real skeletons, don't worry. I came in late last night. I did an exorcism. It's absolutely fine. And they all went, whoo, thank God for that. Whether he did or not, We don't know. None of the accounts are verified. But hey, scary movie, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you want to, let's do some propaganda for this movie. What can we do? You know what I mean? Things like this is what gives it a bit of an extra edge,
Yeah.
right? So it's
course
not
it
bad
does.
for marketing.
No.
So any of these stories I hear about horror movies, I think, yeah, ham
Yeah.
it up for all it's worth.
Oh yeah, of course they will.
Mm-hmm. Who knows, right?
Yep. No one knows.
There's a little bit more to this, though.
Really?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Other people involved in the movie. Richard Lawson, he was aboard a US Air Flight 405 that crashed into the Flushing Bay in 1992. A total of 27 people, there were 51 on board, were killed. Lawson survived.
Okay.
Right? Again, really bad luck.
Yeah.
And quite a long time after the movie, that was
That's-
1992, bearing in mind
yeah.
the movies were the 1984, 85.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And then in 2009, another of the cast members was murdered.
Yeah. See, I think that's just a coincidence. I don't buy into the curse.
Lou Perryman played the small role of Pugsley in the original movie. He was 67 years old when a recently released convict, or ex-convict, should I say, killed him in his own home with an axe.
Okay.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that is those are the reasons really why people say that Poltergeist is a cursed movie.
Right, now we know.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if you believe that,
Well, yeah, I know, right? But I
yeah.
did go and have a look to see if there was an inspiration for the real film. Was there a case that they looked at and thought, oh, that'd make a good movie, and wrote a script around it? A
Yep.
bit like Amityville, right? Now, they reckon that it was based on the 1958 Herman family.
Okay.
Okay. Now, oh, goodness me. This happened in a house in New York.
Did they have a poll?
No, they
Shed?
did have a poltergeist.
Okay.
They didn't have people disappearing through closets or TV sets or strange little women that go, this house is now cleansed, or whatever she said.
Oh, I can't stand that woman. Her
No.
voice just goes right through you. Horrible.
Now, the girl that this happened to, she said that she never saw poltergeist. She had her own nightmare. Now, I'm going to quote this. When I was back in the old neighborhood, it all came back. Nothing has changed except for the roof of the house. And that second floor was actually put in 1990. In 1958, this is when the Poltergeist Experience happened that she had. Basically, it started with small pieces of furniture and a brother's globe flying around the house. And she said all of a sudden you'd hear this loud noise like a popping bottle sound. And you'd look around and find a bottle that was 12 feet away from where it was supposed to be, all the contents missing, and the bottle was hot to touch. Now, she said that her parents tried to keep things as normal as possible, but it's a bit difficult when you've got flying objects around your house. And the father eventually called the police. It received nationwide attention, made the cover of Life magazine, and is actually the case that's credited for popularising the term poltergeist.
All right.
I've got no explanation for the events that had happened, and they eventually moved because of it.
Okay.
And she says now that explaining it is very difficult,
Mm.
which I can imagine it would be.
Yeah.
Live through that experience.
Especially not knowing what it is.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So after this, I was thinking, right, okay, I need to try and bring this back to Orson Welles, and I couldn't. And then the more I looked into Orson Welles, the more it was more like an autobiography, where he did this, he did that.
Yeah.
There was no links to the paranormal other than could have gone down the Macbeth route. But I thought, oh, no, we've done that several times, you know. So I thought I'd leave that there, but follow the thread for something that Paul has wanted to talk about for quite a long time, which is the cursed or haunted movie scenario. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have a little look at a couple of the ones that the boys chose.
Yay.
All right, but that's where my thread for influential figure led from Orson Welles. We went all the way through down to a cursed movie. I mean, weird, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Weird.
Yeah. When you first told us about this show run, we was like, nah, you can't do that.
Because I said that to them on Skype one night. I said, I've started with Orson Welles. I've ended up on Poltergeist. And Paul was like, what? How'd you get there? Oh, you know, you'll have to read the research, guys. You know, but interesting, different things that happen.
Yeah, very.
The threads that are followed through. Anyway, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have a little look at some of the cases that Paul and Richard have brought to the table. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, Harry Price here. If there's nothing me and my friends enjoy more here on the other side, it is to sit back and relax and listen to the Paranormal Concept show right here on the PAUK radio network, broadcasting a plethora of interesting and informative content for all your paranormal needs. Find them across social media to keep up to date with forthcoming shows and all their other adventures. Hello, is there anybody there?
And welcome back to the Paranormal Concept show, exclusive to the Paranormal UK radio network. And we went down a little rabbit hole in the first half following influential figure Mr. Orson Welles right through to the haunted or alleged cursed movie Poltergeist. So at this point of the proceedings of research, I went to the boys, I don't know where to go with this. What do you want to do? Pick a famous cursed
She
movie.
just said, right, now down to you. You got to pick some films. That's what you did.
No, it's not.
You got 10 minutes before we're on air.
Yeah, you
No,
got 10
it's
minutes
not.
before
I
we're
gave
here.
you a whole day.
Pick some films.
A whole day to do this. That's what I did.
Yeah, no, I picked a good film.
You did pick an interesting one.
Yeah,
one I've never heard of before that was allegedly to be cursed.
No, I've not heard of this one either.
Well, no, I did hear about it, and I thought, you know, it's something a little bit different from the norm. So I thought, yeah, why not? We'll go for The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I thought that
Christmas classic.
Absolutely, it's not Christmas until you've seen The Wizard of Oz on the telly that weren't on this year, so we didn't have Christmas.
You know what? I hate this film.
How can you hate it? It's awesome.
I love Judy Garland even, not Julie. Judy Garland.
One of them.
Yeah, her. I think she's brilliant. I love the old style movies, but I don't like this one.
Okay, well, when it was being made, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was like the big success movie. So they spent absolutely loads of money to try and make this epic movie. And it said like it cost them £3 million to produce. And in today's money, that works out £55 million.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just imagine like the amount of people they had to pay. Because there's a lot of people in it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in it.
Yep. Even dwarfism people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the correct term for it is. I know it's dwarfism, but...
Yeah, munchkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, the munchkins, yeah.
But they were real ones, not fake ones.
Yeah, real ones.
you know what I mean.
They were real munchkins, everybody.
Yeah.
Real dwarfs, yeah.
Yeah. And it also won 2 Academy Awards for its music, Over the Rainbow. And
the classic.
I don't know the other one. It doesn't say, does it?
No.
No, it doesn't say, no.
No, but it did apparently win 2. So, what I remember about this particular movie was that a lot of people said that in one of the scenes, you could see in the background that there was a munchkin. One of the munchkins hung himself, and you could still see him in the show, like in the film.
Really?
Yep. But it is actually false. Yeah, it was. I think it was the scene where the Scarecrow and the Tin Man are skipping down the Yellow Brick Road, singing "They're off to see the wizard."
Right.
And there's something dark in the background, a moving figure hanging from a tree. And a lot of people said that it was one of the Munchkins that hung himself. Seriously, it was out there.
Cruel person, Kerry.
I'm sorry, this is my dark sense of humour coming through.
But it was probably more likely that it was one of the exotic birds that the filmmakers borrowed from the LA Zoo in order to create a wilderness setting. So yeah, I think that one's a myth about the film.
I don't remember there being any exotic birds in it either.
Well, no, nor do I. I didn't really watch it that closely, to be fair. But when I see it, it was like about 10. So I weren't really paying much attention to people hanging themselves in the background.
Well, no, this is true. It's so good to watch that with different eyes now.
Absolutely. And poor Toto got injured as well.
Did it eat? What, the dog?
Yeah. One of the actors playing the Wicked Witch of the West, Soldiers, accidentally jumped on top of the dog.
Is it a little dog?
Yeah, and broke his foot.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was he doing, jumping on top of the dog?
I think it's part of the scene. I think when they're running through the Emerald City or something, or I don't know, one of the sets, and they're trying to be captured. And I think he just jumped to leap to grab a hold of the dog.
Oh God!
And broke his foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who hurt the dog?
Yeah, that's it. There's also apparently, allegedly, Judy Garland was molested by one of the actors playing the Munchkins.
Right. What, on the movie?
In the movie somewhere, yeah. She well, it's claimed, it is alleged, one of these rumours that are going about. Whether or not it's actually true, I have no idea. But it was actually Judy Garland's third husband that published this in 2017. That he he said, like, after bar hopping in Culver City, the actors who played the Munchkins would make Judy's life miserable by putting their hands under her dress.
Oh right.
Oh.
So again,
Judy.
yeah. Is it true, or was he just annoyed? I don't know. Yeah. So there's quite a few things that went on with the Wizard of Oz. Apparently, their makeup for the actual show, when they had their makeup applied, it all made the meal.
Okay.
It was made apparently of pure aluminum dust.
Aluminium.
Aluminum.
Yeah. Aluminium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aluminum, as
so yeah,
say.
after about 9 days, most of the cast and that were all hospitalised, sitting in an oxygen tent.
Jesus.
Right.
To get better. Yeah. I think that applied to the Tin Man more than anyone, I think.
Right. Yeah. The tin.
Maybe. Yeah.
Colour.
That's what he was made of, I would have thought. Yeah. And Margaret Hamilton, the woman who played the Wicked Witch of the West, she got burns from her makeup. So I don't know I don't know what they were doing to her, but I think like in the rush to remove her makeup, they used copper something to get rid of the makeup, and yeah, gave her toxic burns, which was quite an interesting one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
so
I wouldn't have
not
thought they'd use copper to remove the makeup. I think the makeup was copper, wasn't it? It was
Could have
copper
been
coloured.
copper based or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
it could have been.
green.
Yeah, or maybe even the thing they used to remove the makeup could have had a copper content.
Wouldn't have thought so.
Oh, I don't know.
More likely the makeup had copper in it somewhere on
See,
the line. And she got
I'm
burned, and they could have put the makeup on top of the burns.
yeah. See, I don't wear makeup, so I don't have a clue.
I was going to say that's more like it. God,
I'll take your word for that because you wear it more than I do.
I don't wear green makeup.
Oh, I don't know. You could, I suppose.
I mean, in all the days I've okay. when I'm out witching, everybody, I wear my green makeup and my red
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I found out about the Wizard of Oz.
That just sounds like bad health and safety to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a lot of that, isn't it? I think, especially with the makeup, and they wanted to make it so spectacular. They wanted good makeup, and
Well, they didn't get good makeup.
no,
They
they
get
didn't really,
toxic
did they?
makeup, didn't they?
No, but back in that sort of time
Yeah,
period,
true.
they were just experimenting, I reckon, and
Yeah, true.
were told, "Oh yeah, this is a good makeup," and yeah, it just nearly killed everybody.
Yeah.
That
I
would
mean,
make for one curse, wouldn't it?
I don't know about Judy Garland being molested. I mean, their life, these child stars, all of them, there was a little group of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, but
Of
as I
child
said,
stars.
it was just something that was published by Judy Garland's third husband, Sid Luft,
Mm.
and he claimed that happened. But it's sort of debatable because there are other people that said, "Well, I was there and I didn't see that." So it's just their word against his at the end of the day. So did it happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a rumor, just one of those things that really I don't think we're ever going to find out.
No, but I wouldn't say it was a cursed movie though, would you? 'Cause I mean, gosh, I mean, it's a big old movie
Well,
and
yeah,
big
but then
production.
are any of these films ever cursed? Because it's just a bunch of coincidences, isn't it?
Yeah, but where do you draw the line
Well,
between coincidence and other
well, this
forces
is
at
it.
work?
This is it. I mean, most of the people were taken down ill because of the makeup.
See, Wizard of Oz, I don't think you could class as a cursed movie because I think you've got to look at the production side of it, really. Like you say, with the makeup being new, a new world, really, isn't it, for
it
TV
was back then,
and
wasn't it?
film?
Especially colour.
Yeah, and then you've got a lot of people on the set doing a lot of like big dance sequences and stuff like that. But I think if you looked into any of like the big production movies of the like 1950s kind of genre, the big Fred Astaire's and those kind of movies, you probably could find a lot of accidents happening on the set because, like I say, health and safety back then wasn't what we have now.
Oh no,
Well,
definitely.
They
yeah.
wouldn't get it past the board, the health and safety officer now, would they?
No.
Yeah,
And the
films.
makeup these days are a lot better as well.
Mm-hmm.
And being an actor back then, it would have been a lot more demanding. You would have been expected to take a bit of a rough sort of ride. If there's any scenes that were quite, sort of like, and a lot of actors would have had to have done their own sort of stunts. So
Yeah.
to say, there wasn't this big sort of, they didn't have sort of stunt crews and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you've gone from like the black and whites to the musical extravaganza in the movie world, haven't you? You know, you've got to think of the big dance sequences of Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire and, you know, Singing in the Rain, you know, all of those kind of that genre of movie which The Wizard of Oz sits in, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And when you actually look at some of those dance sequences and stuff now, that is world-class dancing. That is world-class acting and being put onto what you'd only have ever seen on the stage. I mean, these productions are massive chorus lines and stuff like that. All right, in this instance, it's like Munchkins and Flying Monkeys and stuff like that, but it's bouncing off the back of that, isn't it? It's bouncing off of that. When you look at some of the sets they used, I mean, you've only even got to look at some of the black and white movies, the stunts that were done by Buster.
Oh, Buster Keaton and people
Buster
like
Keaton
that.
and Charlie Chaplin and stuff like that. And there is no health and safety, no stuntmen are doing that. You know what I mean? So I think when you look at that evolution through the cinematographic world, you know, movie world, you've got to admire these people back in the day. They were putting stuff on their skin that wasn't tried and tested. They were using props that weren't probably made the best.
Yeah.
They didn't have CGI.
No.
It didn't have any of the things that we have now to make it what it is. So I think a lot of that's probably just basic health and safety rather than it being a cursed movie. I mean, poor old Judy Garland had a traumatic life in her own right. Being a child star, the demand on that woman, not just her, but Mickey Rourke. There was like quite a few of the little ones, weren't there? Coming through. You know, when you start looking at their life and the pressure that's put on them to perform, I think you have to look at that, don't you? So for her life, some people say it was cursed. I don't think cursed is the right word. I think demands, stress, you know, put on her, and then you step into drugs to help you get through each day. A bit like Michael Jackson. Again, child prodigy, the pressure of stardom and the pressure to perform to the standard he did perform. You end up taking drugs to kill the pain so you can perform, which leads to a cycle of uppers and downers, doesn't it? You know, uppers to get you going and doing the job, and then downers to relax afterwards because you can't. I think Judy Garland was probably an early example of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do agree with you, but then at the same time, you know, you could take it that because most of the cast were all taken downhill, they might not have known at the time that it was the makeup doing it until like a few weeks later when it's being tested and stuff. So to them at that point, it's the curse, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's just your perspective, I think.
And I do think, and you know, studios back in the day wanted a product and they didn't care what cost it was to get the product. So nobody would think possibly to use aluminium based makeup for the Tin Man. I don't think they would care. They wouldn't raise a concern about that. They would just go, yeah, that's good. It gives us the colour we want. Slap it on.
Exactly.
Get the scene done. You know. The poor dog, though.
Poor Toto. He didn't do nothing to no one.
He's just running around barking, being happy.
Yeah. Nasty soldier.
Jumped on by a munchkin.
No, it was one of the guards. The Wicked Witch of the East or West guards.
How bad must he have felt?
A poor thing.
Yeah.
Not the dog, the person who did it. I'm like, oh my God, I hurt the dog. Oh my God, I hurt the dog.
He was a baddie, so he didn't care, did he? He's like, ha, gotcha.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh dear. I always wanted a pair of ruby shoes, though.
I bet you did.
Glittery ruby shoes. I did actually have a pair in my clubbing days, believe it or not.
They've gone home now.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't actually know what happened to those shoes. But he got left in a muddy field somewhere. Interesting, though. Right, Richard, what film did you bring
Yes,
to the
well, I
table?
brought the film Rosemary's Baby. I hadn't actually heard a lot of this. I haven't actually seen the film, to be honest, but it's quite short and sweet, but it did sort of catch my eye because there is sort of something that happened that is actually quite famous. It comes off the back of this. Director Roman Polanski's deeply unsettling film about a pregnant woman in the thralls of a satanic cult. Now, apparently, this film does come with a number of unsettling stories from behind the scenes. Oh, yeah. Most famously, a year after the movie's release, Polanski's wife, who was
Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate, yes, was struck down and murdered by the Manson family, and she was 8 months pregnant with the couple's first child at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, very famous case.
Very famous case. I mean, you could probably do a whole show on that alone.
Well, yeah, it's one of those scenarios, isn't it? I do, however, feel that Manson probably targeted Roman Polanski's, because of that film.
Because of that film, yeah, but then could that be classed as a curse?
Or a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy. But yeah, I should imagine because Manson, well, he's quite a complicated character anyway, and sort of, because he sent the women to do it, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't do it himself.
He wasn't even present, was he?
No. He set them up to do it, didn't he? Really, we will have to look into that more in depth, because that's a fascinating case in its own right, and actually starts when the FBI were starting to look into profiling.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days of profiling, they interviewed Charles Manson, and they couldn't. He was one of the ones that they couldn't. He was too bizarre for words, if you know what I mean. For them to garner any information from. Yeah, they were very difficult.
Okay.
I mean, talk about God complex, that bloke.
And that's not also. I mean, not long after the actual film was actually done, the film producers William Castle suffered painful gallstones immediately following the film's production, eventually requiring a series of operations to actually correct gallstones. And I've known people with gallstones, and they're not the most pleasant things.
Yeah, I've had gallstones. I thought my appendix was going to burst.
The thing I think with that is production can take a long time.
Yeah.
So they say immediately following the film's production, the production could have gone on for 2 or 3 years. We don't know. Yeah. So is it just because he worked on could he just have been sitting in a dark room doing production, or whatever they do with production, eating foods that were too fatty that caused gallbladders?
Yeah. Problem. Yeah. Or
is that
can stress bring it on? Must be quite stressful if you're a producer of a big movie and there's a lot sort of riding on it, and probably cause a lot of stress. And also the composer. Right, you're gonna have to help us out with this name.
Oh no!
Kerry's an expert on these.
Richard. No. We're gonna let Richard have a go at this one.
Krzysztof Kumad. Yeah, well, I can't pronounce that at all. Paul?
I would say it was.
I can't see it because I've got that in my research.
Krzysztof Komeda, yeah, we'll
That's
have him
how
anyway.
I would say, yeah.
And he passed from an unexpected fall not long after the production of the film, and The film's producer, William Castle, later wrote in his memoirs that it felt like Rosemary's Baby was coming true in life and that the cast and crew were being stalked by witches. There you go.
Okay.
So even he sort of said it may have been the film was probably cursed or sort of.
But again, let's be fair. Only raises the profile of the film.
Yeah, of course it does.
That's what all
and especially the
things do.
subject matter of the film. It's the first sort of film like that, sort of dealt with sort of satanic sort of ritual and stuff like that. So yeah.
I will say that Roman Polanski, he did a version of Macbeth, film version, and it is, I think, in my humble opinion, one of the best versions I've seen.
Yeah.
Again, I've never really seen that.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the latest offering of Macbeth, and, well, all I can say on that one is, what the hell? I mean, I know authenticity was what they were going for with the Scottish music and the Scottish accents, and
yeah,
I get that, but it made it really hard watching.
Yeah.
Really hard. All I'm saying, but that's my opinion. Roman Polanski's version was the best version. I saw that in school, and it stuck with me for a lot of years.
Cool.
A lot of years. Right, so what's next on the agenda with cursed films? Those were the two you two picked, but there are plenty to choose from, a plethora, should we say, to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the ones that is quite famous is the Superman curse. And it started with George Reeves, who played Superman first time round. It was announced that he killed himself. I believe he shot himself, apparently. And they put that down to the stress of working as Superman. And then along come like Christopher Reeves a few years later, playing Superman, and then he had a horse accident, didn't he?
Oh, the epitome of Superman, to be fair.
Yeah.
Or is that just because we grew up with him being Superman?
I grew up with him being Superman, Christopher Reeve, but I have seen some of the earlier stuff with George Reeves. So yeah, I don't know whether it's a curse of Superman or
the name.
Maybe it's just the name. Yeah, maybe they were related, and it's a family curse.
I don't think they were related.
I don't know, but I'm just putting it out there. No, I don't think they were, because they were two different surnames. Because George Reeves and Christopher Reeve, wasn't it?
I know. Being facetious.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know what, if anything, happened with the other ones that played Superman.
Well, the guy, the TV series.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, I can see him.
We can all see him. Right.
Yeah. Oh my God, what's he called?
Anyway.
The one in Lois and Clark, wasn't it?
That's it. What's he done since?
He was also in the Supergirl movie. Supergirl TV series.
Other than the Supers.
Not a lot, but I'm sure he's been in other bits and pieces.
Didn't do a lot for his career, did he?
No, it didn't.
I do believe the creators who originally wrote Superman, it was a comic strip, wasn't it?
It was, and he was invented by two Jewish brothers.
That's right, and they sold it for a stupid, silly amount of money.
£5.
Yep, and waived all rights to it.
Yep.
But they're kicking themselves now.
They are. They're spinning in their graves.
Spinning, I think, is the expression.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about Richard Pryor?
Yes.
Well, he was in the Superman movie, but I don't think the curse of Superman applies to him, because he wasn't actually Superman.
Well, no, but he appeared in the movie.
Yeah, Superman 3, that one. Yep.
Yeah, and he died from multiple sclerosis, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
And the girls that played Lois Lane as well. This even affects them when you think of Margot Kidder.
Yep, that's it. She had a breakdown of some sort, wasn't it?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, she was in The Big Bang Theory, I believe, at one point.
And the girl that played Lois Lane in the TV series, her career absolutely bombed after she was in that, and re-emerged, I believe, in GoldenEye.
I don't remember.
The James Bond movie.
But there is a new TV series of Lois and Superman, or Superman and Lois, something like that. And that's just started on the BBC in the UK. I believe they're on series 2 in the US. And that was a spin-off of the Supergirl TV series that have just happened.
Right.
Obviously, nothing's happened to them yet, but it's quite a good series, so it could lead to other things. It's a different take on the story of Superman.
See, I don't know. I mean, again, with these things, I wouldn't say. Again, I don't think there's a case. I think it's just tremendous bad luck.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, the only 2 names it has in this article about the Superman curse is George Reeves and Christopher Reeves. Both know that they both died and they were both Superman. But what about all the other people that have played Superman? Have they gone on? Well, yeah, I mean, their careers are not fantastic.
I mean, you got who's the latest in the Marvel? Is it the Marvel or the DC? I don't know which one it is, but really, he plays the Witcher now.
Yeah, Cavill or something, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Henry Cavill. Henry, how could I forget Henry? Nobody can forget Henry. Henry is fine figure of a man, fine figure. He hasn't done bad, has he? He's done all right.
No, yes, he's done quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him in The Tudor and thinking he was good. He played the TV series, The Tudors, King Henry VIII. Oh, brilliant series. Absolutely brilliant. Henry Cavill. Yes, brilliant. And now he plays The Witcher.
I'm just trying to look up the guy who plays the new one.
Talking quickly about The Witcher, side note, one of the people I work with goes cosplaying, and he's cosplayed an outfit the same as The Witcher.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right.
The Witcher outfit, and it looks absolutely brilliant. I'm like, that is good. It's amazing what these cosplays do, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? Going back to Superman, right?
Sorry, yeah, back to Superman.
The guy's name's Tyler Hoechlin.
Oh.
And he's really good, actually. I could see him going quite far, to be fair.
To be fair, that wasn't the one I was thinking of.
No, this guy is in the Lois and Superman version. And it's basically, the story is that Superman and Lois are married. They've moved to the farm in Smallville, and they have 2 teenage children. So it's like the children growing up, coming into their adulthood. One of them is displaying superpowers.
Really?
And it's just the struggle that Superman's parents had.
What, bringing up Superman?
Yeah. But obviously Superman's now bringing up his own super children.
Oh my word!
It's a really good series, actually. If you can, I mean, I know it's in the UK. It's on BBC iPlayer, and it is a really good series.
Okay.
You should give it a go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I will, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was. That's exactly what that was. What's next on the list?
Okay. So next on the list we have, let's scroll down to the Conqueror. I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. It looks like a John Wayne film.
It's a John Wayne film.
Okay, it just says that a lot of people in the Conqueror succumbed to cancer in the years after the film. Director Dick Powell passed from cancer less than 7 years after the movie.
Mm.
Actor Pedro Armendariz was also diagnosed with terminal cancer. And one of his last films was in the 60s. And James Bond thriller From Russia with Love he was in.
Okay.
All right.
Another actress, Agnes Moorehead, she passed from cancer a decade later. So yeah. And obviously John Wayne and Susan Hayward were also diagnosed with cancer and died within 4 years of each other. So yeah, that's all that one really says about it. But yeah, this theory that it was a curse was dismissed as an urban legend. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To be fair, I think you also have to look at the time period. In 1956 was when this film was released, and it's about Genghis Khan. Now they said, didn't they, that it was to do with where it was filmed.
Yeah.
It
What,
was
the
filmed,
Vardar Desert?
yeah, which is apparently where they
Tested a lot of the nuclear
above
weapons.
ground atomic weapons. So they're saying that they were exposed to radiation whilst making the movie. I think you have to consider lifestyle in this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, in the early 1940s, 50s, yeah, 70% of the population smoked.
Yep.
Right. So I think you do have to look at maybe lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
I mean, John Wayne smoked.
Yeah.
I don't know about Susan Hayward or the others, but I think you can pretty much guarantee back in the day there was a lot of passive smoking going on, if nothing else.
Absolutely. No, I think you're spot on there, to be fair.
You know, okay, so maybe they were exposed to some form of radiation where they filmed this, which is probably where it's come from. But again, you've got to look at, they just went, that's a good location. They didn't look into the location. And they probably weren't really aware of the radiation problems that it could cause.
Mm-hmm.
The problems radiation could cause, rather. So whether or not it was the location where they filmed it or whether or not it was just lifestyle on that one wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I have to say, I don't think John Wayne was a particularly young age when he passed, was he?
No, I don't think he
I'm
was.
not too sure, no.
How old was John Wayne when he passed?
No idea. I don't remember.
Let's just have a quick Google then.
Yeah, have a quick Google.
Where's our IQ elf when we need it? He was 72.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
Good innings then, didn't he?
Yeah, you know, okay, so 72 these days now, I'd look at 72 and go, God, that's not particularly old considering I'm not that far off it. No, I'm a bit further away, but I'm more nearer to 72 than
Than I
I'd
am.
like to be. You know what I mean? Oh, God, like, that's not that many years. That's about 15 years away. Oh, my God, that's scary. But back in, longevity is coming with generations, isn't it? See, now our age range will look at 80, 90 as a good innings.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when he was filming this, he was a young man. He was a man. Do you know what I mean? He's probably in his early 30s, I think, wasn't he? When he filmed that in
must have been,
1956, he doesn't look young. He looks sort of like mid-aged. So I would say that he probably lived hard and fast. John Wayne did.
I don't know. He might have been all right, you know.
Movie star, babes. Movie star. Old star movie stars.
Yeah, I don't know. He might have been like prim and proper.
I don't think he was.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Way before my time, so I wouldn't know.
He was in The Quiet Man. Brilliant film.
Pass.
Love that film. Do like a bit of John Wayne, not going to lie. So when you think about it, I think on that one, cursed film? Probably not. Lifestyle choices, possibly linked to radiation, picked up there, maybe. Who knows? Not
Okay.
a film I've seen.
No, I can't say I've seen it as well. Just
I
like the
haven't seen
next, just like the next film on the list. It's actually called A Took,
Yeah.
and apparently it's so cursed it never actually made it to screen. The screenplay, based on the satirical novel The Incomparable Atuk, about an Eskimo who moves to New York City, has been kicking around Hollywood since 1971, when producer Norman Jewison bought the book rights. Most of the major actors attached to the project have passed. So you've got John Belushi, passed a few months after agreeing to star in the film. Comedian Sam Kinison signed to play the lead in 1988, but then filmed a few scenes. But the production fell apart due to the disagreements between the actor and pretty much everyone else. He passed not long after in a car accident. And in 1994, John Candy was attached, but passed from a heart attack a few months later. Michael O'Donoghue, he was a friend of John Candy, so according to rumour, went over the script with the actor, and he passed unexpectedly of a cerebral hemorrhage. Chris Farley was also attached to the film, and he passed of a heart attack. And according to an unverified rumour, Phil Hartman was also interested in or attached to the script when his wife also ended her life. So anyone that was attached to the film basically died.
God. This does seem to be a weird one.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been made.
No, that's it. It was literally at pre-production, or they've shot a few scenes, and yeah, people are dying already. They are literally dying to be in that movie.
They certainly are. I don't know.
But to be fair, I mean,
doesn't sound a particularly good movie. Maybe that's half the
it
problem.
doesn't. I mean, it was based on a satirical novel, and it's about an Eskimo who moves to New York City.
What more could you want?
I know.
Quite frankly.
Exactly. That sounds a riveting movie. But then you've got that other film, haven't you? It's a bit similar with Eddie Murphy in it when he comes over to New York as a prince.
Coming to America.
Yeah, that's it. It's
brilliant movie.
Same principle, just different country, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's no curse linked to that. I don't know.
No.
I don't know quite what to make of that. I just think that's probably. Well, to be fair, this has been going on since 1971.
Yeah.
Right. How many years is that now? 50 years?
About that. My maths is rubbish. That'll do.
It is 50 years.
Okay.
Right. That's a long time for a script effectively to be around. But do the maths.
No, I'm not. I'm rubbish at maths.
Right. So there's. Oh, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
Yeah.
That have passed that they've talked about as to why this is a cursed movie. 5's into 40.
Yep.
That's not particularly.
That's 4 and 1.
No, years we want.
Okay, so 50 years. Oh, it's one a year then, isn't it?
8. 1 every 8 years.
Okay.
Right. That's not what I would call statistically correlating.
No, but I only read it, so.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It is still coincidence, really, isn't it?
I think reach. Reach.
Reach out there.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
But again, hands up. What do I know, right?
Exactly. We know nothing.
We know nothing. Right, now the next one is an infamous one. And let's go into this one because this is one that, well, again, who remembers I don't know about remembering the launch of this particular film, but the media response to The Exorcist.
See, I don't, obviously, it's way before my time, the launch of it. Richard might remember it.
I do
but
remember it, yeah.
I do have a funny story about this one.
Go on then, you tell me your funny story.
Tell the funny story.
Me and my friend, we went to Blackpool one year. There was a group of us, and she brought her little 7-year-old girl, and we was walking around the Madame Tussauds in Blackpool, and we came up through the horror section, and they had a display of The Exorcist, and it just finished doing its automated cycle where the girl in the bed would sit up, head spinning, and the priest doing arm movements or whatever. And then it just finished its cycle. So we waited there thinking, it'll start up again in a minute. Nothing happened whatsoever. So it was like, well, we started pushing like the window frame, thinking maybe there's something activating it somewhere. And again, nothing happened. And with that, because it's pitch black in there, and you just see this thing through a window, I banged my hand on the glass, and at that particular time it started. So I went like bang on the glass, and then it sat up, scared the hell out of the little 7-year-old. That was so funny.
And there's Paul Rook's wicked sense of humour.
She was so upset, so I had to take her back outside and calm her down. But it was hilarious.
God, the only medical person in the world that actually causes the medical problems that he has to solve. She now has a phobia of anything to do with dark rooms, large men, and people banging on windows.
Yeah, I can remember when it was actually released back in 1973. And from what I can remember from back then, I can remember the newspaper articles and stuff. It was in the papers, or people sort of jumping off of cinema balconies and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it really was quite sort of hyped up. I mean, it didn't do the film any harm, put it that way. And I didn't get to see the film to relatively recently. I mean, it's probably over 10 years ago now. But it does hold its own. It is a good movie.
Yeah.
I do like The Exorcist.
I think the problem with this one is we're getting into the genre of horror in full feckle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that never been put out there before. Special effects have moved on.
No, they.
And they're taking it to the limit with these kind of films. I think with this one, I mean, I remember going to Buckfast Abbey down on the south coast somewhere, Dorset, I want to say that area, Devon, Dorset way. Anyway, wherever that is. And I remember it's a cathedral, and they have a bee farm and whatnot. Lovely place. Go if you can, because it's fantastic. And they had a pamphlet about The Exorcist in there, and I actually picked it up. And that religious perspective on it was, don't watch it, don't go to it. You're inviting evil in by watching these kind of movies. You're courting it. By watching these kind of movies. So basically you shield yourself. The same sort of thing as, don't open that doorway to it because you're inviting it in.
Yeah.
And I kind of made me want to go and see the movie. So I then watched the movie. And special effects and good lighting is what I would say on this one. Gives you the thrill factor. The fact that it's a child, the build-up is fantastic. You have got the religious perspective in there because you've got, obviously, Father Carras, yeah, and all that going on with the religious overtones on it, which hits you deep within your psyche because we've all been brought up with a religious underlying belief system. Even if you don't worship, you've been brought up with that through your education system. So it does hit you on that level. That's what I think is the key to this film. Now, there were things that happened on the set of this, weren't there, Paul? There were problems, shall we say,
wasn't there
during
like
production.
rigging failed? There was like problems with the lighting. Wasn't there a fire on the set as well? So yeah, there was a lot of issues surrounding the set, but I think it's almost like going into a house of horrors and then having things happen because it's there in front of you. It's more like a visual prompt. So if anything happens, then it could be something to do with the supernatural, but in actual fact, it'd have a normal explanation.
I think I have to say, I can't imagine working on a film like this. I could imagine it would be horrific in its own right because of the subject matter of what you're filming. Forget the makeup and the set and all that. Just what you're expected to act out has got to affect you in some way. It's not going to make you feel easy, surely.
I mean, there was a few people as well that committed suicide, but could that be a reason why? Maybe it did affect them in some way.
Possibly. I mean, I have to say, whenever you're dealing with this kind of script, there's one thing reading it, like reading a book, like reading a Stephen King novel, which is unsettling. It's horror in the page. You're living it in your brain, right? It affects you to some degree. That's partly why you read it.
Yeah, but
because of the effect it has on you, the thrill. Again, we go to the thrill factor. But they're not doing this for a thrill. They're not entertaining this. It's not entertainment for these people who are making the film. They're making it to be thrilling. There's a very distinct difference between the two. So when you're having to act out these scenes and act like they're actually happening, like you're acting to make it realistic, it's different from going and seeing it and being thrilled by it or scared by it or whatever trip you go on when you see it. So to then translate that into reality is not such a huge psychological leap.
No, but I mean, when you're acting, you try to put yourself in that person's shoes and live the experience of the character. And to have, to put yourself into that position, then it's got to have an effect.
That's exactly my point.
Because the child star in that, it didn't really affect her career in any way, did it? It's what's the name of the child actress?
Was that Linda Blair?
Yeah, Linda Blair. Yeah, she went on to have quite successful an acting career, didn't she?
Well, she did hurt her back whilst filming that.
Yeah.
And she had problems for years after that with her back.
All right.
That was one of the things. But then again, you go down to health and safety and the rigging on that one.
Well, yeah, the rigging was dodgy anyway because it broke.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would go with more than anything else. And then to come off the back of it, to look back at that experience, like retrospection on the experience, it's not going to be a settled experience that you're looking back on. It's going to be a very unsettled. So it's like it's like going on an investigation and knowing, right, before you go to an investigation, you're going to look for ghosts because there's haunted stories attached to the location. So any creak, bang, cold draft, you kind of jump to an assumption that it's a ghost. That's what we see in the ghost hunting community all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When logically, you know, it probably isn't a ghost. It's the setting of the house. It's this, that, and the next, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look back at that experience, it's an unsettling, oh, I had that experience in that place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? It's unsettling. In the same way as if you've acted something out and you're acting to make it seem real, yeah, to then look back at that experience, you go, well, yeah, there were weird things that happened. They may have, if you could have been filming a rom-com, the same weird things would, I say weird things, certain things may still have happened, but you wouldn't view it with a sinister overtone to it in the same way you would if you was filming a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly what they do. I think that's partly a marketing ploy to make it more scary.
Yeah.
All this crap happened while we were filming this. God knows what would happen when it's actually out there. Is the devil actually putting work out there to become more prevalent in people's minds from a religious perspective? That's what they think. Do you know what I mean? So all of these things build up to make this the great horror movie. It hits the spot more, the more scary stuff you attach to the actual thing itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? It's a bit like a haunted doll doesn't look not particularly nice looking doll, so that's a bit weird in itself. Then you've got the stories of all the horror story, you know, all the weird stuff happening. I'm thinking Annabelle or the Robert the doll or something like that. And then it's like it's self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
The myth grows and grows, and then it becomes set in stone, and then everybody's having experiences linked to this. And that's what I kind of think some of these movie things are. They're not bad luck, health and safety, the time it was filmed in, you know what I mean? Production pressures, all of those kind of scenarios, I think, come into play more than cursed. But because of the genre that the movie is on, particularly with the horror ones that we looked at, like Poltergeist, like The Exorcist, like The Omen's another one that's supposed to be fully cursed. You know, when you look at the genre, to add this is just another level of what it could be. And I think time period, it's like when we looked at the Curse of Tutankhamun a little while ago, you know, when you looked at that, when we broke it down, the time span from opening the tomb to the time it's going to have happened. Some of the things are just life, like that other movie, you know, that hasn't even gone to production. It took, you know, when you look at the time period and then break it down, one in every roughly 8 years, you know, that's not a lot. That's kind of reaching. That's how I would put it. I'd say that's reaching, and you can't say it was the curse of the movie. I mean, the movie's probably not that great a movie. That's why it's never been made. Not the fact that anybody has been attached to it aside.
It's in the list of one of the 13 top cursed movies. So it's got to be cursed. It says so on the information.
I know, but I do think you have to look at these lists or these things and sort of be quite level-headed about it, really.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going with this.
Mm.
So I get a little bit frustrated sometimes with people who say things like this. You know what I mean? You have to be very careful not to jump to that.
Yeah.
You know, I, in my opinion, that's all.
Yeah,
I'm not saying bad things hadn't happened. They did.
Oh, I think it's because you work in retail.
I think it's because I work in retail.
Absolutely.
You know, we have things that happen that are weird at work. We hear trolleys moving around upstairs when there's no one upstairs. We've had things fly off the shelf. We've had no end of abuse on full moons. Do you know what I mean? You can.
Yeah.
I could rack up a whole retail is cursed industry.
Go for it. We'll publish that one.
When it's not. It's just how things are sometimes.
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, a vibration of next door drilling because they're doing work in the unit next door caused something to fall off the shelf because it wasn't put up there properly is more likely than a poltergeist in the stockroom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tub moving on its own up in the stockroom. Yeah, well, the wheels on those things are not exactly reliable, let's be fair. So, you know, it's probably just, again, a vibration's caused it to move. Nothing major, but you can hear it move. You know, the alarm going off at the front of the store. Well, even when we've got customers in the store, that thing goes off without anybody near it. So, you know, is it a ghost? Probably just a faulty system. You know, when you think about it. But you could attribute all those things and go, oh, it's the ghost of the store, you know?
Yeah.
And the high emotions that run around at the back sometimes. You know, when you've had a bad customer and you're like really stressed out about it. Sometimes if you are looking about an externalization of an internal process, I'm surprised there hasn't been full-blown poltergeist activity with some of the emotions you're having to suppress.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
you can't be rude to customers. So you go out the back and you're like, oh my God. You know what I mean? But
well, yeah, you could go out the back and do that, or you just go upstairs and push a few trolleys so that people go, "Oh, the ghosts
it's the
up there."
ghost of upstairs, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just Kerry taking out her frustration on one of the tubs upstairs. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to bear things firmly in mind, really. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the show nearly. We've got about a minute to go. I don't know what you guys think, but that's my take.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I just think it's a case of being in that environment, especially with the horror films in particular, and the actors putting themselves in that mindset, and when things happen, you got the notions and the ideas there, and it has an effect. That's pretty much what I think it is.
Yeah, you sort of like look at these curses and you look at the list and you look at the time frame. And these are quite long time frames you're looking at, sort of since these movies have been done. And yeah, no, it's life. Shit happens.
Oh, Richard, you swore. Now we're going to have to put explicit on the show.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.